Hello everyone, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Far Cry New Dawn is my favorite game in the franchise. This is so good. I got to play about 3 hours of it at a recent preview event that Ubisoft invited me to, and I came out of it loving so much about this game. Yes, it is a direct sequel to Far Cry 5, but New Dawn adds so many things to it. Yeah, it does have the same systems in place that Far Cry 5 had, but New Dawn actually adds so many new things to it that makes it surprising that this had a relatively short development cycle. Some of the things, and I'll go into greater depth as this video goes on, but some of the new additions are new RPG elements. You now have levels for your weapons and for enemies and your prosperity home base, which you're going to be spending a lot of time upgrading a lot of those different aspects. Everything has a health bar on it now, including the wildlife, some of the wildlife for which has mutated because of the fallout. They also added a new mode called Expeditions. Expeditions, I think, is going to be a fantastic staple to the series. Hopefully it stays for many years to come. I'll get again into that a little bit more. And then Outposts have been redesigned. I know Outposts are kind of a small thing, but they've really were tedious and repetitive in all the past games, and Outposts exist in pretty much any Ubisoft title, like Assassin's Creed, for example, but they actually redesigned them so they're fun and replayable, and you're going to want to replay them. But what I'm doing here in this mission, I just started off the game. Again, I got about 3 hours of footage, so I'm going to capture all of that, and I'm going to kind of break it down into some smaller videos. So make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell as well if you want to make sure you don't miss out on those. But I'm doing a mission called Losing Streak. Losing Streak requires me to find a character by the name of Bean. Bean is one of the specialists of Hope County. There's 5 specialists. You do their missions, they eventually return to Prosperity. Again, Prosperity is the home base that we're going to upgrade and spend some time in, and we are going to go find him. We're going to do his little mission. Now along the way, I'm also going to do a couple of the little miscellaneous tasks along the way. There's going to be a random world event. There's going to be a supply crate. We'll also do a treasure hunt. The treasure hunts are actually kind of clever and fun. They existed in Far Cry 5, but I feel like they've made them better. The team, I've talked to them, and they said they took a lot of pride in them and made sure they just kind of improved on it. So they really enjoyed putting those in Far Cry 5 and kind of took it to another level, in my opinion, here in New Dawn, at least in my few hours I got to play the game. I think there's 10 treasure hunt missions and 10 outpost missions. Could be more. But yes, this takes place in the same map as Far Cry 5. This is a direct sequel. If you haven't played Far Cry 5, spoilers for the ending, but at the very end of the game, nukes go off. Some bombs, nuclear bombs go off, and there was nuclear winter, and then 17 years later, basically is where we're at. And you'll see the environment is completely different. Nature kind of came out and overtook Hope County. So you're going to see a lot of lush greens, and you're going to see a lot of color, a lot of flowers, and the world is beautiful. It takes place again in the same map, so some of the areas will be familiar to you, but a lot of them won't be. The land has kind of overtaken a lot of the areas, and you'll recognize some buildings. Some areas have been completely covered. There's going to be new areas as well that some of the rogue pirate group, they call themselves the Highwaymen. They're the kind of in charge of the area. They're the pirates of this area, land pirates, if you will. Now you see here I have a supply crate here, and the supply crate is actually going to give you resources and materials that you use to make upgrades in Prosperity. Now you want to go and grab that supply crate, but the Highwaymen are also going to try to grab that same supply crate. So I'm going to grab it, and you're going to have to fight off Highwaymen in order to stake claim to it. We're going to loot it, and you're going to see I'm going to get ethanol as a reward here. Ethanol is basically the main currency in this world now. I got some other materials as well, but ethanol is the most valuable resource. So you're going to be trying to gather as much of that as you can. And again, you're going to use all of that to upgrade your home base. Prosperity itself can be upgraded to certain levels, level 2, 3. I don't know how many levels total there are, probably 5. And in order to upgrade prosperity, you're going to have to upgrade the various smaller things within it, like the weapon store or the expeditions or the infirmary. If you upgrade the infirmary, you get more health. You upgrade weapons, you can craft higher tiered weapons. And now I'm going to actually go over to this treasure hunt here. And the treasure hunts work the exact same way they did in Far Cry 5. You basically have to solve a little puzzle to find the stash. In this case, we need to kill a bear, and then we're going, well, first we have to call the bear, kill the bear, get a mission item, and unlock the supply stash. But the new RPG elements makes this game much more interesting. It didn't exist in previous games. Basically, in Far Cry 5, if you found a weapon you like, you had that weapon for the duration of the entire game. You may be able to find a mod or an attachment, for example, a suppressor or maybe a scope. But basically, you use that same weapon. In Far Cry New Dawn, there are now tiers to the weapons, to all the levels. And they're basically going to be gray, blue, purple, and gold. Now, if you run across a higher level enemy, say like a gold enemy, you're going to need a higher level gun. You could try killing him with a tier 1 weapon. It's just not going to work. So you can upgrade weapon levels, and it actually changes the appearance to them as well. Some of them are really, really cool looking. The weapons aren't just basic weapons that we know today. They're kind of not like Fallout so much, but they're put together by wire or tape and things like that. You can attach there'll be screwdrivers attached to the end of them, so you'll have like a bayonet. So here we are. Actually, I'm leaving that stash because I noticed there's another one of those world events. You can see with the little red icon, these guys carry doing these. This is very much like that supply crate we did. This is just a different version of it. You kill the guy and then you can loot his bag to get more resources. There's other ones similar to like Far Cry 5 where you can steal a tanker truck and then you got to drive it back to Prosperity, your home base. So there are a lot of similarities between this and Far Cry 5, but there are so many new additions, as I mentioned, with the RPG elements, with the weapon levels, for example, and enemies have higher levels. I actually ran into a gold tier bison, and as I mentioned, a lot of the animals are mutated, but this gold level bison took 6 RPG rounds from my tier 1 RPG, and it didn't even phase him. So you're going to have to upgrade weapons to take out some of the higher level enemies. You also can't do stealth takedowns on higher level enemies until you upgrade your stealth skill, your takedown skill. You'll be upgrading a lot of different aspects to it. And I feel like that takes all of the kind of the mundane tasks of previous Far Cry games, like doing the random missions and doing side quests and all that. It takes all of it and kind of gives it a purpose. So everything you do in this game is ultimately improving your upgrades, upgrading prosperity, and progressing the story. So nothing felt like it was just not important. And I really, really appreciate it. Again, I only got to play for a few hours, and you barely scratched the surface. It was all in Act 1. I don't know how many acts there are, maybe 3, 4, who knows. But so I only got to play through parts of Act 1, and not even all of it. So now I'm going to go solve this puzzle here. I actually end up dying, so I just kind of did a little edit there. And what I'm going to do is call the bear, and I'm going to do that by shooting the bell in the tower. That'll alert the bear who's going to come charging at me. Now, you notice, of course, the guns for hire and the fangs for hire return to the game. And right now, I have Carmina Rye as my gun for hire. She was with me from the very beginning. And you may recognize her. She was actually in Far Cry 5. If you remember in Far Cry 5, you ended up delivering a baby. I don't remember if you delivered it or if you took Nick and his wife, I think his name was Kim, to a clinic or something like that. But you ultimately, I think the mission was called Special Delivery. Not entirely sure. But anyways, the baby in Far Cry 5 is my gun for hire here, Carmina. There are also other characters that are from the previous game. Again, this is a direct sequel. You'll also notice Grace is in the game as well, although she's currently blind. I believe it was from looking into the light of the explosion when the bombs went off. Also, Joseph Seed, the father, is in this game, although I do not come across him, unfortunately. He must be later in the game. I don't know what his role is, how he'll play, but I always liked his character. And now here we are in the stash here. You always get 3 perk magazines in all of these treasure missions. All right, so now skipping forward just a little bit, we're heading towards the farm. We're going to go ahead and complete this mission. Now, I also mentioned earlier that expeditions are new to this game. And I really, really hope this is something that just sticks with the game, future Far Cry games. So New Dawn introduces this new mechanic and this new mission structure called Expedition. And that it basically allows you to take a helicopter to other parts of the United States. So we're going to actually leave Hope County, which is really exciting. And there's many different areas. I don't know how many expeditions total there are, but there's one of the expeditions takes place at a theme park. One of them takes place at a ghost ship. And one of them, I believe, is also Alcatraz Island. So that'll be kind of fun. Alcatraz has always been one of the locations in video games I've always enjoyed. I've always liked the Alcatraz prison maps. So you go and do these expeditions, and you're going to go off and you're going to basically get rare resources that you can then again upgrade prosperity with. So I feel like the expeditions, if that was in Far Cry 5, instead of the arcade mode, the online arcade mode, I feel like that would have made that game so much better. I mean, not that Far Cry arcade wasn't good. I don't feel like it was worthwhile. It would have been far better with expeditions. They could have done a lot of DLC over time with that, with going to new locations. Because you're leaving Hope County, you can really go anywhere. At least within range of the helicopter, apparently. So we're going to talk to Richard here. I don't know why he's naked. Apparently he gambled them away, as one does. So I do like the idea of expeditions and being able to just go to other places in the world. There's a lot they can do there. I'm really looking forward to doing it. Now, expeditions is also replayable. They actually added kind of like a gameplay loop to this. And what you do is you can go and do the expedition, and then you can do it again on higher difficulties. You're going to have more enemies or more alarms and things like that. So they introduce a gameplay loop on those expeditions, and each time you do it at the higher tier, the higher level, you're going to get just a greater reward. And that is a fantastic a new thing, adding that loop into the game. Now, speaking of gameplay loops, I mentioned earlier they also redesigned Outposts, and they designed them in the same way as you do it with expeditions. You can go and clear an outpost like you normally did in Far Cry 5, but in New Dawn, you can clear that outpost, and then you can actually abandon that outpost. And when you abandon that outpost, you just take resources, you get a reward, usually ethanol, again, which is the premier currency you're looking for here in the game. So you can take it over, and at that point you could just choose the habitat and just keep it, or give it back, take the resource and give it back. Well, when you take it back, the highwaymen are going to come and reclaim it, except this time they're going to add more defenses, higher level enemies, more alarms, and you can then go and retake it a second time. And then you can give it back again and get a bigger reward, and then go and do it a third time. Now, I do have some footage of it. It won't make this video, it'll be in a future video, but I do have footage where I did it the first time and then did it a second time. And I attempted a third time, but my God, that was much harder than I was able to do it. I had tier 1 weapons. There were some higher tiered enemies, and I was not very good against them. So it's a really cool addition. It makes them more fun, makes them more valuable, makes it worth doing, more importantly, because you need those upgrades for prosperity and for other things. Upgrade your weapon shop, upgrade your health, things like that. Now we're looking for the business plan, and I think we'll be pretty good after that. Now the highwaymen are the bad guys in this game, and they're led by a pair of sisters, twins actually, and those twins are going to be who we are up against. They are the antagonists of this game. Although, as I mentioned, Joseph Seed is still in the game somehow, in some form. Not entirely sure how, but the sisters are who we are mostly dealing with in this game. So between dealing with the sisters and taking out the highwaymen that she controls, as well as upgrading Prosperity, it's a lot of things that we're going to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There's not a lot of worthless things, not a lot of things that are just going to be just kind of, you know, padding time. We're going to be doing a lot of different things, and it's going to be very enjoyable. I will make more videos, so I got a lot of great footage. There are some really cool thing for hire. He's a wild boar called Horatio, and he takes place, he's basically the cheeseburger of this game. Cheeseburger and Boomer, I'm sorry to say, are not in the game. 17 years have passed. They are no longer here. I don't know if they didn't survive the nukes or if they just aged and died. Who knows? I believe there's going to be a lot of lore that you can read, maybe find out what happened to him. Because a lot of the notes and documents you can read spread across the world actually kind of ties the stories, bridges a lot of gaps of what happened to a lot of different people. So this guy, now that we've done him, we can actually, I believe, purchase maps for various things from him at some point, maybe collectibles, who knows. I don't know too much about all the collectibles or whatever that's in this game, but we will eventually find out. So that'll do it here for part 1. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. I would appreciate that. And of course, subscribe and stay tuned for more Far Cry New Dawn.